Congratulations, Katie.
Thank you, Mary.
What an honor it is to have you a part of this year's 2021 Silver Beaver class.
It really has left me speechless. Still.
For many people, they define that is the reason why one receives a Silver Beaver, because you don't realize the impact that you have upon others in the scouting world.
Yeah, I've been reflecting on that quite a bit, and I try to see it through the lens of those who nominated me, and the time has gone quickly. I haven't been in scouting all that long, but it's gone so quickly and it's been so fun, but it's been so impactful for me too. It's not just, they say it's those you've impacted, but I've been impacted by scouting, and that's what's so cool about it.
What has impacted you the most?
Well, I think when we started on the scouting journey with our now oldest, when he was in first grade, we just thought it was something we wanted to do with him. I was involved in Girl Scouts growing up all the way through college. And so I knew scouting was something we wanted to do. But very early on in our scouting experience, my husband came home one day from a University of Scouting, and he said, I heard about this Philmont Training Center, and I want to take Alden, our oldest, there next summer. And I started looking through everything, and I was like, why would we just take Alden? I want to go. This is a family trip. So going out to Philmont that first summer really impacted, I'd like to say it springboarded where we are in scouting. We became a scouting family, really. So everything we do in scouting now, we've done so much of it as a family. It's just something we do together. And because of those early on experiences, the people we met, the lessons we learned, the skills we learned, we just kind of kept going with it. So I guess it's just that experience of going out to Philmont really impacted our lives.
Well, and it wasn't just your first experience. You have had the opportunity to return. You've been an instructor.
Yeah, I have returned to Philmont for many classes for myself, but I've also gone out as an instructor for 2 classes at the training center.
And how has that impacted your scouting career?
Well, it's kind of like the Silver Beaver, right? Like, I did not believe at all that I was worthy to go out there and instruct other scouters. But, my mom said something to me once when I'd kind of propelled into doing these presentations and other scout trainings that I thought, well, I don't know what I'm talking about. And she said, you just need to be yourself, and you need to show everyone that you love scouting and how much it means to you. And that's just going to sell it to everybody. So I think because of how I feel about scouting, being able to go out and help instruct others, it's lighted sparks in them too. And, I like to think that that's where I was impactful in scouting, that I can just be myself and let others see the power of scouting and then take it home to their own units.
Well, I remember when I first met you a couple years back, you were preparing your oldest son to go to the National Jamboree.
Yep.
Your husband was going to be on staff at the National Jamboree, and I believe you were going to be at the National Jamboree, but then you were going to fly out to Philmont, or maybe the vice versa.
Yes, I was going to be at Philmont that same week that they were both at National Jamboree.
So you guys were like scouting all over the
Yeah.
country. Which is not really far from your life, right? I mean,
No.
You've scouted, to my understanding, as a Girl Scout, you were in a variety of different continents, right?
Yeah, I grew up overseas, so my parents were teachers at international school. So I started scouting when I was in first grade, and I was living in India at the time. I continued scouting through Girl Scouts overseas in India, Indonesia, Norway, a little bit in Iowa, continued into college. I also Pakistan for a year. So I've been scouting everywhere.
Wow, that's amazing. Knowing that girls are now in scouting,
Yeah.
would that have, if you had that opportunity back then, do you think that you would still have done the things that you did then?
I'm sure I would have been involved in scouting. My brother was a Cub Scout, so, who knows where I would have landed had that been an option. But yeah, it's such a worldwide program. We don't think about that nationally. It's Boy Scouts of America to us. But I did go to World Jamboree a couple years ago, and that was just so cool to see how scouting is so much more than just us, and see the scouting spirit everywhere with everyone from all around the world.
Now, did you experience that with other family members as well?
Yep. So I was an ASM with a troop that my oldest son was part of.
Okay.
Yeah.
And now I understand as well as you have a daughter that's still involved in Girl Scouting, right? And she was just working on her silver award?
She actually was working on her bronze award. Unfortunately, the timing of that totally got shut down because of COVID. They only had a couple more months to finish the project up, and school ended up shutting down, and it was through the school, so they didn't end up completing that. But they are still meeting occasionally with Zoom calls and getting together with the other friends. And it's actually really cool because she's in 6th grade now, so she's in middle school, and this is when we typically see a lot of girls drop out. But,
right.
They still have a pretty strong troop. They will get together in the Zoom calls, and they're just so happy to be together. So that's really awesome to see.
Now, do you see her coming over to be a part of Scouting BSA or?
Well, right now she's in the situation where she doesn't want to do anything her older brothers do.
I hear you.
So not right now. She's got 2 older brothers in Scouts BSA, so she wants her own thing. But one of the really cool things about Kaya's experience is that, think about who her leaders are. It's my husband and I. So we first went through the BSA program, so all of our training is from BSA. So in Girl Scouts, you can choose a lot of what you want to do, whether you want it to be more arts, more music, more outdoors. Well, we naturally took her troop towards the outdoor track. So I think she kind of got the best of both worlds.
I think so too, and I think that's one of the things that especially girls that have gotten involved in venturing is they're looking for that outdoor experience.
Yeah.
So you have already made that a part of
Yeah.
her scouting experience as well.
Yeah.
When you, I noticed that you've got a Norsk on your, so wearing a language on your uniform, I think those strips are really incredibly awesome. When you're at the World Jamboree, did you go and see if you could?
So I actually
Snuck as a
did not
Norse.
wear my Norsk strip when I was at Jamboree because I'd like to think that some people are very good at languages and I'm not. I did minor in Scandinavian studies in college, so I could have a conversation. Now, that being said, the unit directly across from us was a Norwegian, or across and down was a Norwegian unit. Across from us was Swedish. So I did speak to both groups quite a bit, and I actually have a friend now on Facebook from the Swedish unit. But what's really funny about that is because I didn't have it on, we were down talking to the Norwegians, and my son has long hair, and they were talking, he was talking to them, trying to do some swaps, and they were asking each other if it was a boy or a girl. And I answered them in Norwegian. And they were like, oh, God.
Oh my gosh. So tell me something. I understand that your husband was the one that was initially asked and you ended up becoming the Tiger Den leader? Have I got the story straight?
Okay, so this is actually a really good story. So what ended up happening is we were kind of all in for scouting. We signed my son up, and just like, any parent with their firstborn starting in school, he's in 1st grade. Well, actually, we asked in kindergarten, we went to the scout table at open house, and they said, nope, it's not till 1st grade. That's changed. But at that time, he was starting in 1st grade. And so we signed him up the next year, and we kept waiting for emails, and we weren't getting any messages about scouts. And we kept asking and asking, and then finally I figured out who was officially the leader, so I contacted her. Well, within a couple hours, she's like, that's fine, you can be the leader. She just totally gave it off to me. She didn't want to, she's like, you seem like you have more time. And so then my husband and I both decided to do it together, and we went to the first committee meeting for our pack. And at that committee meeting, we walked in the door, and they looked at us, and they pointed to my husband, and they said, well, we'll pay for your registration. And we're like, what? We both want to be leaders. And so we did pay for my own registration. We're like, well, we'll both be the Tiger Den leaders. But
There was an assumption there.
there was an assumption that my husband would be the leader.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's very interesting. Now, speaking of a leader and in a pack, I understand that you were handcuffed during a pack meeting. Was it a little run-in with the law?
No. No, but we did have a police officer come in and share a little bit about safety with our unit. And I guess you could say I'm kind of up for anything. I'll try anything once, and I did get handcuffed. It's the only time in my life I have been handcuffed at a PEC meeting.
Was it, did the kids have fun with it though?
Yeah, they did. Yeah. And you know, I'm a trained teacher. That's my background, so I love being with kids. But those PEC meetings are so energizing. Now that my kids are a little bit older, I kind of miss that part of it. So you got to plan it. You've got to have organized chaos. But yeah, they're fun.
They are fun. Speaking of fun, I understand there's a cotton candy at Family Fun Night. Do you want to share a little piece about that?
So several years ago, we were trying to give back to our school because our charter org was the PTO. So we started making cotton candy and giving it away at Family Fun Night. And it was really interesting because everybody would come up to us and be like, how much is it? How much is it? I'm like, it's free, just take it. And since we first started doing that, we did it for several years. And I think we'd probably still be doing it if we didn't have COVID. It's just really fun. It's fun making cotton candy. You can smell it throughout the whole school. It's got sugar on all the walls. Just one of the things our
And it's fun to say it's free.
Yes.
You do some running
Yes.
and
I
coaching
do.
other moms. Do you want
Yeah.
to share a little bit about that?
So I'm a
I didn't know. It was fun to say, okay.
I'm a volunteer coach with Moms on the Run. I started running, I think it was 11 years ago. So I was a young mom with kids, and I joined Moms on the Run because I thought this is something I really want to try. And it quickly became my guilt-free me time. So it was something I could do that was good for me, that was away from my family. And I will say I will never be a phenomenal runner. I've run a couple half marathons, but nothing to be really
I
wowed
can barely
by.
run up the stairs, so keep going.
I'm there some days. But what I really love about the program is that it's giving back to other moms. So my favorite thing to do is actually to work with the new runners. So to get them from not running at all to being able to run a 5K. I think that is super empowering.
And how big is your group that Moms
Well,
on the Run?
It's a franchise. It's actually started in the northern suburbs, and I'm part of the Lakeville, Burnsville group. And we have anywhere from 40 to 90 members, depending on the time.
That's phenomenal. I think that's amazing that you do something like
Well, they
that.
fill me up. I love working with people who are trying to accomplish a goal.
Right. Now, one thing that I want to just share, because we all know that there's a variety of people that are watching this video today or this presentation, is the color of your shirt. A lot of people may not know
Yeah.
the color of your shirt, and I guess I would like you just to, if you would, just share what the yellow is and
Sure.
why you continue to wear it.
Well, it's really, actually, it's more of a story than you know. On our first trip out to Philmont, we stopped at a scout shop in Iowa, and they had a yellow shirt. And I was like, what is this yellow shirt? And the shop owner's like, oh, that's the old shirt. Den mothers can wear it. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. I'm a den mother. So I bought the yellow shirt. I remember sewing patches on it as we drove out to Philmont. And then I got to Philmont, and people kept noticing it and making comments like, that's a cool shirt. I haven't seen the yellow shirt since my mom was my den mother in 1963. And I thought, what am I wearing? I really need to research this a little bit. But there were some scouters out there at the time that are now really good friends of mine. And they kind of taught me about the yellow shirt, the blue pants. And the main thing they said is, once a uniform, always a uniform. And so at the time, I didn't know anything about it, but I now know I can always wear the yellow if I'm wearing the right bottoms. You got to just kind of coordinate everything with the right theme. But I like it because it's different, and I don't look very good in that tan color, so that's why I wear the
think
yellow.
it's really important for people because if they see any catalogs, you will still see the yellow shirt. It's still available.
It is still available, absolutely. And it's funny how for a while the female leaders were different, and then everybody had to move into the same thing. Well, you know what? I like to be different, so I'm going to wear the yellow since I can.
I love it. And seeing as we're talking about yellow and Cub Scouts, I would like you to explain a little bit about the Pink Power Pinewood Derby race. Or the racer, I guess is what I should say.
So, Pinewood Derby is, everybody loves Pinewood Derby, and I've been the MC for a pack for several years. And I made a car with my kids because they were making theirs. My daughter always made one, both boys. And I painted my pink, and I Mod Podge sequins all over it. So it
Little
was
car with some bling.
It was, and it was actually pretty fast too.
I understand
Not
that.
just a
So
pretty
how fast
face.
was that little pink car?
Oh, I don't remember, but I did think I kind of won some of the adult races.
And that's what I understand. I think that is just exciting. And I think it's really great to hear the fact that the family program in scouting has always been there.
Yeah.
But I think now we hear more about the family program now that girls are active members and are a big part of it. But another part of scouting that we haven't talked about is you're active in the Commissioner College.
Yep.
And if you want to share a little bit about that, because I know that you are a huge impact on those commissioners coming through.
Well, I think, one year when my husband and I were looking at the training center catalog, I'm like, well, what do we want to take? We just want to go to Philmont and have vacation. But we ended up taking T3. So it's Train the Trainer triplicate course. And I never thought I would be a trainer. And I'm an incredible introvert, Mary. And
I believe it. Okay.
It wasn't until I got involved in scouting that I became comfortable talking in front of people. I was, even as a college student, I wouldn't, working with kids, I wouldn't want to read a book to them. I wouldn't want to raise my hand in class. I really was a true introvert, and I still am. But through my scouting experience, I've really blossomed into somebody who can talk in front of crowds. And so, Commissioner College came about. I was initially asked to be an instructor, and I, so I'm a little more comfortable being in front of people and speaking to crowds. And so I've kind of tested the water with it, and now I'm on staff for Commissioner College. And I really do love working with adults and being a trainer now. So I think that it's just a skill I've developed, and I've got to say that's a pretty fun committee, so I can't really stop working on it.
I know, and you guys seem to have a lot of fun on it too, that's for sure. Is there anything that we don't know about you that you would like to share?
Well, I grew up overseas. We did talk about that, and that really shaped some of my characteristics. But one thing we haven't talked about that's really important to me is my experience at the Philmont Leadership Challenge. So back in 2015, I'd registered for Philmont Leadership Challenge, and I was super excited to go out and do that. Philmont Leadership Challenge is the next step after Wood Badge, so you can take it a little further. Not many people go, but because it was at Philmont, which I like to call my other home, I was all about going. At that time, though, my husband actually got asked to staff Philmont Leadership Challenge, so we were going to be there at the same time, which was never in the plans. But one of those things about scouting is, when really cool opportunities come up, you just got to do them. So this was at a time when I had started a new job. My oldest son had switched schools. I actually hadn't been working for a long time, so it was very chaotic in our lives at home. And I went out to Philmont Leadership Challenge, and I had a lot of internal baggage to deal with. And learning about servant leadership in a place like Philmont and the people I met there, it was a very it was a very life-changing moment. It's kind of indescribable because I feel like just everything coming together in that environment really taught me a lot about who I want to be and how to make that happen.
So what would you recommend Philmont Leadership Challenge to other adults?
Absolutely. I think that, if you liked Wood Badge, if you didn't, it's a completely different experience because it elevates it. You're in the back country. You're in Philmont, which is amazing. And I think that everybody still has more personal internal growth that they can do. And this is a great way to step you forward in that.
That sounds outstanding. I want to say thank you very much for coming today,
Thank you,
letting
Mary.
us be a part of your scouting, and thank you for you being a part of what you do for both youth and adults.
Thank you. I'm really honored, and I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for my family. So I'd like to thank my husband, Justin, and my 3 kids, Alden, Finn, and Kaya, for supporting me in scouting.
That's terrific. Thank you very much.
Welcome.